you guys can hear me or whatever, just say a thumbs up or all that good stuff. I am today going to go through just a little look at our uh, 5-1 offense. So let's get started here in a bit. All right. If you guys can hear me or whatever, so let me get started here. Okay, seeing myself twice. Okay. Get back here so you guys can see me. Okay. I think you guys can see me now in this case. All right, I wanted to get through just the 5-1 offense and everything along those lines and the positions of the 5-1. So I'm going to go through this guy slowly. Okay, in this case, so I'm going to basically go through just a little bit of what is entailed with the actual 5-1 offense and everything that's associated with it in this case. Let me just get my video here and shrink my video. Okay, in this case, and get you guys associated with this. So let me just go through and shrink my video here as I'm going to go away. Yay. All right, so I wanted to talk about the actual rotations in a 5-1. Now, remember 5-1, guys, that means that there are 5 hitters and 1 setter. Basically meaning that with a 6-2, you actually got 2 setters and a rotation in the back row. The setter goes to the back row, they're used as that setter. So the most basic rule is that all the hitters have a home, an outside, a middle, or an opposite. The setters and the opposites always play on the right side defense. Middles are in the middles and outsides are on the left-hand side in this case. So most teams have their defensive specialist or a libero substitute for at least one of the middles or even an outside in this case. But the 3-passer system assumes that the best passers have to be the outsides and the actual DS that comes in, or libero. And I will basically point that out as we go through this in this good stuff as well. So not all teams place outsides in the middle back and middles on the left side as shown on this PowerPoint presentation I'm going to go through. But players move. As long as they don't overlap and everything along those lines, everything is A-okay within the 5-1. I'm going to explain that here. So let me go back and take a look at this. You can see here is the first, if you're going to what's called rotation 1, you will find that the setter is, again, more in the starting serving, obviously, in this case. You notice that you actually have the opposite on that side, on the right-hand side here. And then you actually have the middle and the middle sub, which is libero typically. The middle sub would be the libero in that case. You can see the 2 outsides, they're opposite each other. So you could see what's going on there. So now you actually got in rotation 1. The serve happens. Everybody goes to their base position. The middle sub or libero would go to the left back position. The outside would go to the actual middle back, and the setter would go to the right side. Now, in certain defenses, the outside and the middle sub or the libero may actually switch, okay, in that case, in terms of that. But in a fast 4 defense, this is called the actual libero or middle sub, as you see here, will actually be in that left back position, as I like calling pinching the corners. The outsides on the left, the middle's in the middle, and the opposites on the right. Now, this is if you are in serve receive. You can see the opposite is here. Some have the opposite come back and serve receive. In our case, we're not going to have the opposite come back and serve receive. But you'll see the primary receivers are going to be the outside, the middle, sub, libero, okay, and the outside, the other outside. Notice that no one is overlapping. The setter is behind the outside. Serve happens. Okay. Setter comes up. Serve, receive. Everybody goes back to their position. Middle hits the coverage. Outside may go back out there. Setter may come back. So you're seeing a couple of things happening in this case. So now let's take a look at when the outside serves. So in rotation 2, this is called rotation 2, the outside would serve basically and then go to the middle back position. So you would see that the outside, again, is in that middle back. The libero or the middle sub would go to that position of left back again. Setter, of course, would be in the particular right back position, and the opposite would be on the opposite. Middle would be middle. This is the serve receive when the setter is basically in the back row, rotation 2 in this case. So you'll notice that, and this is in position 6, but this is rotation 2, okay, for the setter. You'll notice that the opposite and the setter are behind, right in front of each other and everything along those lines. Then you actually have the middle sub, which is the libero, and the two outsides. So again, you're seeing what's actually happened in this case. This is where on the serve receive, the outside is there, but it's just a step behind the other outside. Okay, the other outside is a step ahead in the front row. You could see that. Serve happens. Opposite goes back to basically hit. Middle goes to the middle. Middle sub obviously will go venture eventually to its positions. But these are what's actually happening on this guy here. So you're noticing that's happening. Middle may hit. Outsides and everybody goes back. The setter for defense goes back to their position. Notice that everybody goes back to their home. Now in rotation 3 or 5, depending on where you're taking a look at it, this is when the middles do serve. Now, keep in mind that the libero may serve for the middle, but they can only serve for one of the middles or one of the players only once in a rotation and that good stuff. And we'll go over scorekeeping as well in one of the lessons a little later on. So that way you guys can actually see that particular guy come through. Now, once the middle serves, you'll see the middle will go there. The actual outside and middle will switch. So now you're seeing everything happen in terms of that, guys. So now let's turn this. Now you're also seeing the actual, setter. This is in rotation 4. This is rotation 3, rotation 3. Sorry about that. Can't edit that out in the live. But this is rotation 3. The middle, and the setter are up. The outsides, you notice, are to the right of the actual setter in the middle. The other outside in the back row is a step behind. Libero, which is the middle sub, comes in. The opposite is there for any short balls. Serve happens. Middle goes to the middle. The outside goes to the outside. This outside in the back row can hit a pike if they wanted to in this case. And then it went back over. Everyone switches. Middles go up. Outside goes up. Middles and subs, and everybody goes back to their base position again. So you're seeing that you actually have the rotations here in the back row of actually going through these guys. If you have any questions, definitely hit me up with any questions that you guys may have as we go through this. Okay. All right. Now, next rotation 4, is basically the setter now is in the front row. Okay, the opposite is serving. In this case, opposite the setter. After they serve, opposite goes to the right side in the back row. They may be subbed in by a DS or somebody along those lines. The middle actually goes through and now subs. You see the middle sub is a libero in this case on the outside. Keep in mind you can reference this later. Okay, if you have any questions or anything else like that, you can definitely come back. Serve, receive, and rotation 4. There could be different ways on this one. Sometimes teams will have an outside hitter on the right side, okay, and then switch after sending it, okay, in this case. So there's a couple of different ways that you could do this, okay. So you could see that may actually have the right side person be there. They don't have to do that in this rotation. After the serve, setter goes to their positions. The outside comes there. The opposite comes up, maybe for a back row hit. And then you send it back and everybody goes to their positions. As you can see there. Next, the outside, rotation 5. The outside basically serves. Then you actually have the setter and the middle switch, and everybody stays home. The outside goes to the right. Excuse me, the middle back, and the middle sub libero goes over there. Now this is rotation 5, 3 depending on how you count it. You serve. Middle goes there. You can see where the outsides were. It's a flip of what actually happened before. Send it back over. And then, of course, everybody goes back to their base positions and getting ready to block on defense. Last in 6. Setter is in 6. The middle serves. Then goes to that position. Pretty straightforward. Here is the common one to do this in. The middle can stay there. The outsides come back. There's a middle sub, a libero. The opposite is splitting the 2 outsides. There's a middle over there. Okay. Serve may actually happen. And then they go back to their defense. So you're seeing this whole thing play out, guys, in terms of what's happening in the actual rotational positions. So what I wanted to get you guys to understand is that, let me just zoom in here on myself, is that the actual rotations are important to know. I know this is not the most sexiest thing, guys, to talk about, but let me just explain to you the power of these rotations. The thing about it is a lot of people are just like, hey, you know what? I don't need rotations. I can do this, whatever. And then when they get to it, they're out of rotations. You're not going to get, we talked about the high school tryouts and even club tryouts. If you are familiar with your rotations, I mean, very, very familiar rotations, and especially if you're going for a position of a setter or even libero, outside, in that case, middle, it doesn't really matter. You have to know the rotations. I can tell you that a coach gets a little frustrated, especially if quarter way into the season, you are not knowing your rotations. If you come to the tryouts and you know your rotations and you're good passer and you talk and everything along those lines, it will be a very good experience. However, I will tell you this, okay? The experience that you will have if you don't know the rotations will actually not be any good. So I do recommend that you guys actually learn the rotations, that you learn them, and that you be there and that you actually understand what's going on with those rotations. So I just want to let you guys know here at Out of Bounds, I mean, we go to rotations, I mean, in every level, I mean, in this case, to make sure that you guys do understand that. But at your high school, this understanding this, if you're a coach, taking a look at this, we will actually go through actual game footage of Out of Bounds girls tomorrow. I will actually show you what's going on in the 5-1 and everything and point out actual game footage of our players and what actually occurs and break it down that way. So these girls, you'll see yourselves on that one at different levels, and we'll definitely have some fun with that. So if you guys have any questions, definitely leave it in the comments. But I do want to thank you guys for today's live, okay? But I do want to make sure that you guys understand that, hey, you got to know your rotations. You must understand your rotations. It's extremely important. All right, guys, so have a good rest of the day today. Post it up tomorrow. It's going to be actual footage. After this, you'll see actual footage of us playing. So if you want to go back to the YouTube site, you'll see that as well. Definitely want to basically congratulate Noelle for actually getting into playing college volleyball, one of our setters here for our 17s. And guys, we'll actually have more footage on our site. So definitely you'll see the footage on our site appear a little bit later on today. All right, guys. All right. Have a good day. See you guys tomorrow for our daily live, our actual footage, and we'll go over 5-1s. Thank you, guys.